All right, well, hi there. So, this being my day off and having nothing better to do, I figured I felt like posting something, and well, I guess what I've come to like to post is just basically uh, reactions I get off to things that I've been watching on YouTube mostly. And in this case, that would be, well, thought I'd say something about this video, Chris Hedges, The Politics of Cultural Despair. I've got this on my favorites list. If you want to find it, it looks like it was posted on October the 18th, and it's just is Chris Hedges' character making a speech about the politics of cultural despair, no less. All right. So yeah, he's talking about the degeneracy of American culture and how fascism arises, and his criticism of American politics in general, from his socialist standpoint. He says explicitly he's a socialist. So he's a great speaker, and I agree with a lot of what he says, including his criticisms of the Democrat Party, which I've been voting for pretty consistently for 40 years. But if you listen to the whole speech, you might get the impression that there's some kind of grand conspiracy going on between the two major parties, that there's some kind of secret agreement out there between them, that they're in cahoots, so to speak, to just hoodwink us all us nice, normal, upstanding, regular folks out here, into going along with all their horrible policies. And he explicitly tends to talk about horrible policies like our enormous military budget, our enormous prison system, our economics that forces huge masses of the public into poverty while enriching a tiny minority into a level of prosperity that's kind of obscene. And I can agree that those are all terrible things, among other things. But anyway, I don't know that he ever says anything. Hang on. I don't know that he ever says anything like that out loud. That is to say, I don't know that he ever says out loud that there's this grand conspiracy going on between the parties to hoodwink us all into going along with these policies that they tend to implement. I don't know that he ever says that explicitly, but that's the kind of assumption he seems to be encouraging. Maybe I'm hallucinating about that, but anyway, I don't really think that's the case at all. The two parties are definitely not conspiring with each other to take advantage of the rest of us. They are fundamentally, and to me, obviously, competing for our attention. They're competing for our votes. This dynamic is more than adequate to explain the outcomes you see going on, including all the cultural degeneracy Chris Hedges is talking about. Again, I don't think that's the kind of supposition Chris Hedges tends to encourage in his fans, though, intentionally or unintentionally. Because if you look at it in this way, with the big party simply competing for votes, then I think you have to conclude that this serious condition of cultural degeneracy isn't simply the product of powerful people working in secret with each other. No, it's got at least as much to do with the shortcomings of the voting public itself. That is to say, the major parties don't necessarily sell a bill of goods to the public that the public is entirely fooled about. To a large extent, they're selling the public on what the public actually wants in the first place. Right? Who demands that we have the biggest prison system in the world? Who demands that we have a ridiculously overgrown military? Who demands that we run our economy in a way that impoverishes millions, enriching a tiny minority? And yes, I'm saying it's the voting public that wants all this. They demand it. They will not tolerate any politician that does not support it. Does that seem like a wrong idea? I'm sure it's not a wrong idea. Look at the most outspoken supporters of the successful candidates. Listen to the things they say. Look at how the candidates seek to ingratiate themselves with their voter bases. Invariably, they seek to support these policies at best reluctantly, with talk of reforming the system or whatever thrown in. At worst, they talk about these policies with as much enthusiasm as they can pull up from their well-fed guts. The candidates are not trying at all to deceive the public on such issues. They're desperately trying to position themselves as the ones who will deliver these things to a public that is demanding them. Do the candidates know they're damaging the country this way? I'm sure some of them know it perfectly well. But power is a funny thing. Whether you're in a democracy or not, you need the support of the masses, either way. And suppose you're Chris Hedges and in some weird, unimaginable twist of fate find yourself suddenly in the seat of real political power as opposed to wherever exactly Chris Hedges is now. What exactly is Chris Hedges going to do in that position? Facing that same mass, the voting public, what happens if he pitches a lot of real reforms, shrinks defense, shrinks the prisons, introduces economic reforms? The voting public will crucify him. That's what will happen. However he got to power, he'd never stay there, not without actively suppressing those voters by force. So this is what I'm saying. The failure of our politics isn't just that politicians are actively trying to trick and deceive us to benefit themselves and their buddies, though a lot of them at least are doing exactly that too. The failure is that increasingly, over time, they're giving up on trying to push really beneficial policies at all and instead trying as hard as they can to promise whatever the voters want. Because pandering to the public is the only way to stay in power. And if you're not in power, you can't do anything, right? So anyway, that's my slant on things in general, where this video is concerned. Maybe you've gathered that I don't have a super high opinion of the voting public in general. If so, well done. We have a long tradition around here of congratulating ourselves on being real enlightened and stuff, compared to all those stupid old dead people from hundreds of years ago. But personally, when you look at the common folks out there, I don't think much has changed at all. And that's regardless of whether you're comparing us modern folks to people in earlier democracies or to the peasants and so on that populated all those medieval kingdoms from way before that. Human psychology is what it is. That's all. This is why I don't think you see thoughtful, well-spoken people like Hedges in politics so much these days. They know what's up. That's why instead of guys like him, you get Trump. And Biden, sure. I mean, I voted for Biden, and I hope you did too. But it's not because I really think he's all that great a leader. He's just not as awful as Trump is. I've been voting for the lesser of two evils my entire life. I think it's the only way to vote. Biden plays the game because he knows he has to, just to be there. But Biden at least thinks he's staying there, saying what he has to say for the good of the country. At least he thinks so. Whatever it is that he does, he thinks he's doing it for the nation. By contrast, a guy like Trump, he'll say whatever it takes to pander to the public, but staying in power is the whole motivation. He wants the office, he wants the attention, he wants the opportunities to build himself up, and that's it. Nothing he says means anything beyond that. Now, supporters of the other guy can say the exact opposite thing. I mean, who's to know what's really going on inside of these guys' heads? It's a matter of your own personal judgment of character. I know what I think is going on, and like I don't like either of these guys that much, but given a choice between them, yeah, you know which one I'm going for. Anyway, that's all I got to tell you. Have a good evening.